So today we are going to learn two different keywords. The two keywords are select and from. The basic principle of a SQL query is you're selecting data from a database. Hence, our first two keywords, select and from. Select indicates which columns you want to query, and from identifies the table you want to query data out of. So pretty simple. These two keywords, think of them kind of like in programming languages, the syntax, if-else statements. These two keywords are to stay, and you probably have to use these two keywords for any query, because for any query, you probably want to query data. So that means you would have to select some sort of columns out of a table. That means you have to use at least one table. So you're going to have to use the from keyword. So here we have an example of a query. We have select, the keyword that we just learned, and then the column names, which are YouTube URL, date published, and number of views. From which table? From the table YouTube.videos. So here is a full query, a runnable query. And basically you can see that the columns are separated by a comma. So here we see two commas because we have three columns, and you do not put a comma at the end of your last column. And then from, and then your table name, and then semicolon to say you have finished writing your query. So that is basically the syntax of a SQL query. And what this query would do, it would return the result of this table, but only the columns YouTube URL, date published, and number of views. YouTube.videos can have multiple columns. For example, let's say they had the column number of likes or number of dislikes. However, you did not specify it, so it will not be returned to you. All right, let's whip up mode and let's try it. So here we have the mode editor, the SQL editor in mode. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna try using the select query. So first we write the keyword select, and then what do we want? Let's see. Well, let's choose a table first. I chose the city populations table, and right when I clicked the city populations table, I got this little pop-up here that says there are 4 columns: city, state, population estimate 2012, and ID. And then each of them has an associate type like string and number. So, all right, let's say I want the city. I want the city. So city, comma, and then I also care about the population estimate. Oops, spelled it wrong. Estimate in 2012 from city populations. It auto-completed for me, so I'll select tutorial.citypopulation and then semicolon to end my query. All right, so let's run it. Aha, so now I got 50 rows returned, and these are the 50 states, and then I got their population sizes right next to the city name. Excellent. Now let's add one more column. Let's add the column state. And then let's see what happens if you add another comma right after state. I click run. Aha, there's an error. So if you look at the error, it's a Postgres error that says syntax error at or near from. It means that there is an error near here, and then it points to the keyword from. So the error messages are not always that good. They can't really tell you exactly what's wrong, but at least it gives you a hint. And then the hint here will tell you that you have an extra comma here. So if you delete it, it will work. Now we run it again. This time we get the same results, but we have the states also. Now, if you paid attention to my query, you're gonna notice that I capitalized select, but I did not capitalize from. Why is that? Well, I just wanted to demonstrate that you do not technically need to capitalize these keywords. You can actually lowercase them if you want, and it would still work. However, the convention is that all the red keywords that you see, like the keywords that are reserved for the SQL query, usually you want them to be capitalized so that you can clearly see them. And then there's also formatting conventions. What's great about most SQL editor is that they will format it for you. So here I didn't format it, but if you click Format SQL, it's going to format it here perfectly for you. All right, let's run it again, see if it works. All right, same thing, nothing's changed. Now the order matters. Select has to be before from. For example, if you wanted to say from Tutorial City and then add the select statements later, it's not going to work. Aha, that doesn't work. Let's go back. So what about the table name? Is that case sensitive? Well, let's try. Let's add a capital C. We run it. Aha, it seems to work. It might differ depending on the implementation of the database. In some companies, they might use a different kind of database where capitalization matters for table names. But let's just try changing the username to tutorial. This still works. Okay, perfect. What about if you capitalize the columns? If you run that, it seems to work. So in this version of SQL, which is PostgreSQL, capitalization, it doesn't matter because it's going to be unique. Okay, enough playing with the capitalization. I'm going to show you one other trick, which is the asterisk character. So this character, usually in programming, it represents the wild card character. Think of it as the joker in a deck of cards, where the joker can be any number you want in your poker hand. So this wild card, what it does is you can substitute that for all columns. So if you put a star before from, it means that you're selecting all the columns, hence the wild card. So if we press run, we are going to get the city, the state, the population, and the ID. As you can see in this table, you have 4 columns and we have queried all of them. All right, so what exactly is happening every time you run it? Are you changing anything? So technically you are not. What is happening is you are only querying data out of your database. It's a read-only operation, which is very safe. It won't change the data in your database tables. So you can go wild and try different things. You could even try to error out, maybe give it a random column name. And then as you can see, column IYG does not exist. So you could try a lot of different things. You don't have to worry about causing errors, because at least that will make you learn the syntax way faster if you make mistakes. All right, so now that we know that we can use the star, let's try to query another table. This one looks interesting. It's the Apple historical stock price. I'm kind of curious about this one too. We run it. Okay, interesting. We get the open, the high, and the low, and then we get a bunch of stock prices every day. Awesome. One more thing I want to teach you before we end this lesson is we can actually change the column names if you want. So for example, here we have, let's just say I want date and the opening price. I click run, and I'm gonna get date and open. But let's say if you had a coworker or a product manager that does not like the word open because they don't understand that the open means the opening price, then what you can do is you could change the column name by adding the keywords as, and then give it whatever column name you want. Let's call it price. And then if you run that, your results will no longer say open, it will say price instead of open. So again, this does not change the underlying tables. It doesn't change the database. It is only the results that are different. So instead of open, you're gonna have price as the name of the column. And for example, date, if you wanna change that also, we could call it day, and then we run it. And then there we go. So why would you want to do that? Usually, if you join 2 tables, like in the future, you will learn how to join 2 tables. And those 2 tables, if they both have the same column name, then you're not allowed to have the same column name. So you have to rename one of them. So imagine if table has a date column and then table B also has a date column, and you want to join them and you want to get all of their columns, then you're going to have to modify one of the dates into like maybe date of B or something, because you cannot have the same column names. It will collide. And also sometimes people just like to change the column names for clarification purposes. So that's pretty useful too. All right, that's it for today. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.